Hi, I'm comedian Lunga Chuka the Energizer Funny, streaming live with my special guest on the Price of Fame podcast. We feature entertainment professionals on the show and find out what sacrifices were made to reach their level of success. Look forward to learning about how our guests have overcome mental health challenges, achieved success breakthroughs, what you need to know about the industry, and how you know when you actually have a talent that needs to be shared with the world. Take these episodes as your personal mentorship guidance on how to be a successful entertainer. We chat to those who have made it in South Africa and abroad. Let's make the SA entertainment industry the most supported by locals, because local talent is liquor talent. Subscribe now to keep up to date. You can also find us on all social platforms. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Price of Fame. This is episode 28, season 2. My name is Lunga Chuka, and I'll be your host. Of course, no one else is going to take my job. Ladies and gents, tonight's guest is a gospel singer with a network that extends beyond South Africa, and is also a well-renowned actress that has made a name for herself, a household name in SA. Ladies and gents, without further ado, please welcome to the screen the multi-talented, very beautiful Lois Du Plessis. Yes, the right.
Thank you so much for having me, Lunga.
Thank you so much, actually, for agreeing to be a guest on The Price of Fame. It's really exciting to get to know the real Lois behind all the glitz. So looking forward to hearing your story. So thank you so much for making time. I do believe that you came to work and you probably took like a quick power nap. You had to get up again. You're still looking
Yes,
fabulous.
that's exactly what I did, and it was wonderful.
Appreciate that, and I appreciate you very, very much. How is your day, by the way?
My day's been really, really good. It was a beautiful day today. It's just really hot over here in Joburg. I don't know about Cape Town, but it's been really, really hot. But it's been a good day. It's been a good day so far. How about yours?
Oh, it's been lovely. Same here. It's been kind of like gloomy, like overcast, and you're just thinking, is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? So if you go out, you might pack in a jacket, but then you realize it's so hot, and it kind of gives you like the humid vibe. So it's super cool. Have you guys in Joburg, have you guys been experiencing, I don't know if you've been seeing on social media, all these floods and this crazy weather that has been happening? I think even in Durban as well. Is there anything happen like that in Joburg?
Yeah, there's been different places where it's just crazy. I think global warming has just come and really shaken South Africa in a different way. We've seen things in the last few years that we never anticipated or thought would ever happen. But yeah, thankfully we are safe. We just didn't have water for a while. I don't know if you guys experienced the no water shedding vibes, because we're water shedding these days.
Actually, now that you've mentioned, there was maybe 2 weeks ago or something, or maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a time the water was kind of like really, the pressure was low though, for like the day, and you'd be like, hey, what's going on? You couldn't take a shower, you couldn't do your washing, the pressure was just low, and it happened like 2 days, but then it will return again. and we're not talking about it. I don't know why.
Yeah, no,
No,
we didn't have water for like 5 days.
that's
So
crazy.
we were all standing in line at boreholes trying to collect water. So yeah, it's a different world we're living in at the moment.
So crazy. And was there anything said on the news to prepare you guys or anything like that, or just
Yeah, they sent out a notice and said that there's going to be some water shedding because the dams are really low on water, which is so
yeah?
crazy. But yeah, those are the times that we're living in, between load shedding, water shedding, petrol prices. Ons moet net bid, joh.
Welcome to South Africa. Welcome to everything is shedding but our money. Everything is shedding but our money. Anyways, let's get into it. Like I said earlier today, I was looking at a music video of yours, Same God. I really enjoyed it. I recognized some of those faces, like, look who's in the video. So, and really love. And also, what I recognize is that the same fabulous that you have in the music video, you just brought it with you. It's like a in place.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lunga.
So, what inspired? Sorry, what inspired the song? And the whole influence about it.
Well, the song was first brought to me by a friend of mine, Pastor David Charles in Trinidad. It's a church in Trinidad that I've visited a few times. And we had spoken about me possibly doing some music in the future and wanting to start working on music because I was always very much afraid of stepping outside of the behind the scenes background vocalist role because I'd been in that role for such a long time. And he had invited me a couple of times to do workshops. And so we spoke about my music, spoke about wanting to write. And then he sent me an email one day and he was like, I have a song for you. And we had spoken about my story, my testimony. And it was just spot on when he sent it to me. He sent it to me about 5 years ago. It's so crazy. And I was like, the song is so perfect, Pastor David. I love the song. I have to record it. And 5 years later, I was finally ready to finish. We co-wrote the song together, finished the song together. And it's basically just about my testimony, how God has taken me. I come from a very small town, a mining town in Mpumalanga, Middelburg, Mpumalanga, and how God took me as a girl with a dream. Nazareth, like the township I grew up is Nazareth, can you believe it? Grew up in Nazareth, and how God took me from there all across the world and just showed me his favor and his blessings over my life. And the song is just really about that, trusting God, believing God, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you go through, he's the same. And also going off after COVID with our families and, family members that we lost, family members that we almost lost, seeing God's hand through those things, I really was even more motivated to go, hey, God has been the same to us and with us and for us, even through a pandemic. We have to say thank you. So this was my way of saying thank you, God, for my life, my journey, my testimony that I can only accredit back to God.
Wow, I love that. That you mentioned. I love that it carries your testimony because that's what art is there for, for us to tell our stories,
Yes.
For us to tell our stories in a beautiful way so that people can relate through either movement, through the testimony, the whole art itself, So it's such a thing that you can channel that, and bring it through in a beautiful way. And I love that about art. I also love the fact that you said that you came from a small town and then you basically saw the world, and I spoke to this with so many other guests, and like traveling is such a beautiful thing and something is so needed for everyone. I know what it's done for me. I came home with I didn't even travel to so many places. I went to the States before. I went to 3 different places in the States and Germany for like a weekend, but the fact just being in a different place, interacting with different people, eating the food, learning how things are done here, looking at yourself and where am I in this place? How do I fit in here? All of those experiences. It's so amazing. And then when you come back, it has such an impact and influence on what you do. For me as a comedian, also to open my mind in terms of content, the type of content I need to write, and I want to connect with people. So for you, describe how did the traveling and the touring influence you with your music?
Oh gosh, I think it really just opened up my mind to the possibilities that are out there in the world. You know, when you only stay in one place and you only see one thing, that's all that you really know and that you understand, right? So I think traveling really opened up my perspective to the fact that there's so many different ways to do life and to come to a conclusion in life. Because when you're sold to just one way, then you kind of set in your ways. But when you travel, I think you're exposed to the fact that people live differently. They, like I remember when I went to Cambodia and seeing the people hang washing like in the river. I was like, what? People's washing is hanging in the river. Like, like it was just a completely different thing for me to see, because for us, hanging washing is on the line, but like a lot of people live on the river. So that's like, it's just a different way of doing things. And then in America, people don't hang their washing up on the line. Everything is in the washing machine and in the dryer. Like hanging up washing is just complete taboo in certain areas. So it's just, I think it gave me a different education to understand that there's different ways of coming to a conclusion to stuff in life, and to be open-minded and not always come in with an opinion, but rather come into situations to learn and rather to gain something from it as opposed to trying to teach something.
Wow. Now, honestly, I love that. I think I should open my mind to more of that too. And it's crazy dynamics, eh? Like the different places. Just the whole washing thing would be something simple, but like it's like, wow. I mean, you guys just do things different here,
Yes.
The belief in how they treat each other is also different, the food even and everything is different. Like I remember meeting a Filipino guy in Vegas, because we were there for a dance competition. And they had this culture of having so much food on the table, like lots of food, random food. And whoever visits, they have to offer you something. They have to, even if you take like a chip or something. And like their culture is that you must feed your guests, and so they must always have food on the table. They must always have food available. So any of them can just go there and grab a burger or whatever. You can also just go there and eat and grab a burger. It's like a little cultural thing that I took, and I was like, wow, that's actually amazing, such a good thing to have, so learn these things. And it's something that I implement in my home. If I get visitors, I must bless you with a plate of food or something, because it's because I want to remember their culture, and so it's amazing when you pick up these little things of how people do things differently, and you open your mind, it makes it a beautiful experience, I guess.
It really does. And I think it also challenged me that wherever I went, that I always wanted to read up on the cultural preferences of those countries, because you never want to go into an environment and offend someone. If you come into a home, certain people eat differently, so it really, like I said, it was the best. Traveling has become the best education for me, because you learn so much about different cultures, the way people do things differently. And I'm open to learning those things because I love languages and I love culture and I love different food. So it's been such a great experience for me, and I can't wait to get back to traveling, because it's been a while. It's been a long time.
I'm same here. I did a little bit of traveling this year, but it was too little.
Yeah.
I need to but having religious parents, and with the whole religious influence, how would you say that has played a role in influencing your music?
Wow. So not all the music that I write is gospel. And but I've had pastors growing up in church, being a person of faith, having a relationship with God for myself. I think my parents really just instilled with me the importance of knowing God for myself, and it's guided me in this industry, because in this industry sometimes you can be very alone. It's an industry of constant no's. You have to have thick skin. So I think my faith has really, really helped me through the no's of life, because there have been many, very many no's that you walk through in life. And I think my faith has encouraged me to keep going and to never stop going. and then also believing in God and trusting that his plans for me are to prosper, and never to harm me. So like I hold on to my faith no matter what, in whatever situation I'm in life. I try to let that be my guide. And I think it's worked for me. I think it's worked for me greatly because I trust God no matter what I do. I know I'm in God's hands. He creates opportunities for me that I get to walk into, and I know that I'm not there alone. And I'm there because my mom's prays. My father wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pray every day. He's 82, and he still does it. So I know that I have the favor and the grace of not only the faith that my parents instilled in me, but also their prayers.
Have you ever found like yourself in like I'm someone also likes to motivate myself, and always like to and listen to my intuition and always believe that I'm connecting with God. I'm always, God, keep me safe when I'm going here. God, keep me safe when I'm doing that. A little prayer, God, please let me execute my jokes and my material exactly the way that I prepared and those things. I'm always having this conversation with God. And there are times, and I'm going to be honest, there are times where I'm like, I just feel like I'm being ignored, or I feel like, oh my word, like what is happening in this space? And like in my mind, I can picture myself shouting at God, like, why are you not, to me, or why aren't you helping me? And I even told like my partner, I even had this vision of myself like banging on the gates of heaven and be like, ah. Have you ever yourself experienced a moment like that where you like where people kind of like, yes, you still believe, but for this period of time that you're experiencing something, you're kind of like questioning God, like, what is going on here? What's going on with this? People usually go through that when they maybe lose a spouse or something like that. So when something really tragic happens to them, have you ever had an experience like that where you were kind of questioning and like, okay, God, you need to explain what's going on here now?
Yeah, I was just about to say, at least you just think it in your mind. I actually do it. I'm like, God, like, wat gaan nie aan? Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I scream if I need to scream. I talk to myself. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, Lord, this is not working for me. Let's have a conversation here out loud. This is not working. I think there's definitely been a lot of lows in life, and I think, to be honest with oneself is the most important thing. To go, this is not a great season for me, right? There've been several in life where you go. I remember the very first time when we got dropped from the record label, when I was in Afro, and we got dropped from the label. And you're going, man, like you have all this high and hype and people know who we are and you're doing well as a young buck in the industry, and then you get dropped by the label. But it wasn't just us, it was us and like a slew of other artists that got dropped at the same time by EMI. So you then go through your first disappointment where you feel like, gosh, what am I going to do now? And then you find yourself having to go through life as an independent artist, having to, you're famous or you're well known, because fame is so temporary, but like you're well known, and by the course, there's no food at home, and you have to go to interviews and you have to do appearances, and you're showing up and you're well known, but then you're in like these difficult phases of life. And I think what helps you through those things is just being honest about where you're at. I think when you're younger, your pride is hit quite hard, but I think over the years I've learned that it's okay to go through bad times and to just make sure that you're being honest with yourself, especially with like mental health now, having people to be able to talk to, making sure that you have accountability when you're feeling low, have somebody that you can call and say, hey, like, I'm struggling, can you help me? That's something that we as artists really struggle with, is saying, I need help. So I've had a lot of lows, a lot of no's, like I said, a lot of rejection. I can't pretend that my career has been perfect because it hasn't. But in those moments, I thank God for family. I thank God for my really close friends that I could have called up in moments when I didn't have much of anything, and that I genuinely wasn't alone, But I think also sometimes it's important to make sure that you have that surrounding, that you're not alone in those seasons. Because it's easy to be alone and seclude yourself when you're in a broken place.
And like you're saying, today things are a lot more different even have the term that we use now, which is mental health. And we know about reaching out and the importance of reaching out and share and speaking to people. But I'm sure back then when you were experiencing your lows, we weren't talking about mental health. And you probably were like hit in a shock, like what the hell is going on and what am I experiencing right now? I would love to know what was those in the time when it's happening to you, and how'd you get yourself out of that dark pit?
Sure. Um, I think when I was younger, having older sisters, I'm the baby in my family. Um, and so we were quite close growing up. So none of my family members are in the entertainment industry, I think, which has been a great blessing to me because in the moments when I didn't have much of anything, they were always there for me. And they kind of, I can't say that I got here all by myself. I think in the seasons when I was really down and out, when I didn't have money or I didn't have a way to go, I always had somebody picking me up. And I think that's really how I got out of those pits is having people that check on me, especially like my sisters. My sisters know when I'm quiet because I'm the noisy one. And they will always check on me, my friends as well. So it's like the saying they say, have friends that know when you're quiet.
Yes.
Because then you can never you can never be alone. It's important to have people that know when you're quiet.
Yes.
And I'm really blessed that I've had that in my life. I've had people who they'll go, hey, I haven't heard from you in 3 days. What's going on? And I've always had that. And it's such a blessing because there are people that don't have that.
Absolutely. No, true.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to say that I have a friend, a really good friend. We hardly see each other physically, but he always remembers to check in and just be like, hey, how's things going,
Yeah.
and he makes it like he's really concerned about you. We could talk 30, 40 minutes of just about my life, before I'm like, hey man, how are you doing? I mean, you called me, but how are you doing? So it's those friends that you can really, really count on, and those friends that really, really, I mean, sometimes, like you're saying, they come at the right time when you're quiet, and you're saying you're not reaching out because there is first that time where we take everything first in, we process it, and then we go quiet before we realize, okay, I'm gonna reach out. So in that time, if someone can like catch you, that's really awesome. And like you said, not a lot of people have that person around. So yeah, no, I mean, let's be grateful.
Yeah. It's something to be grateful for.
Tell me a little bit more about your upbringing. I know now that you're the youngest and you also come from a small town. But how's schooling like for you? Who was Lois before everything? Describe the person.
Gosh, I grew up. So like I said, I grew up in Middelburg and Mpumalanga. The township I grew up in is Naseret. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud girl from Naseret. I went to school in Witbank, which is about an hour, 45 minutes away. Well, in the bus, it's an hour because we made a lot of stops. So from the age of 6, I was in a school bus going to school. My mom sent me off to a convent, private schooling. Which that shaped a lot of my childhood. Going to the convent and then coming home late from school. I did all the activities from debating. I was an athlete in school. I loved all the races, egg races or bag races, and then later on in life, hurdles. And so I loved athletics. I loved sports. I loved everything else outside of school. I was a true artist. Solid in my calling to being an artist. But I did enjoy school. I loved being in school. And then once apartheid lifted, I went to school in Middelburg, first MPS and then Steelcrest High School. And my whole life was in Middelburg. It was really, really cool that I got to grow up in a small town, mining town, very small community. You walk down the street, every neighbor is your mom. If you did something silly, the neighbor would correct you. If you caught with a boy in the street, it's a phone call away. Hi, Auntie Sybil, I saw Lois on the street with a boy. And then, it's tickets for you. You're going to get in trouble. So the community really raised me. I was raised by all the aunts and uncles in the street. And, it was just very close-knit. And I'm very grateful for that, because that's, I think it kept me wherever I've gone in life, is that upbringing. So that's who I was as a kid, very vibrant. I played in the street. Basically, my music video is a replica of my childhood. We tried to redo all the games we played in the street: Gosi, Blakkies, Keniki, marbles, those are all the games we played as kids. And so that's really how I grew up. Very simple.
I love that, and I can relate so much because I played all of those games too when I grew up, and it was a season. I don't know how we knew it was the season, but we just knew like, hey, it's marble season now. Afterwards, and like it's spinning tall season now, and like what? And then just every time it would just change, and we would just go with the flow, and then it's not the games in the road, three sticks, all of those crazy things. And I love what you just mentioned now. And I also think it's like a cultural difference thing, where you say, like, especially when you grow up in a small village or a small town, the community is very much involved in your business. Not only the negative, not only your bad secrets, but they're also involved in terms of like taking care of you. I mean, you could have spent the night at any one of those homes and be safe. You could have had a plate of food at any one of those homes and be safe, and feel like I'm just eating, or it's home or any kind of thing like that. And that's actually one thing, because I've always spoken to my parents, and my partner, she spoke to her grandparents, and we're like, we're gonna make it one day, and then we're gonna get you a house out of this, out of this community, and then you're gonna live in a different area. And they were like, no, 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 no. They're always against it for that simple thing, because they feel like they're gonna lose that community camaraderie. Because they're gonna be like, I'm gonna go to an area and we're not gonna talk to anybody. It might be a nice house, a nice area, but I'm not gonna know my neighbors. I'm not gonna know anything like that. So that thing that you just mentioned is something that's so rich, especially with among our parents. And that's why sometimes they choose to live in the same area that they grew up in, or that they've been sitting in for such a long time. So it's very interesting that you make.
Yeah, and I think also like there's a safety for our parents, because I relocated my parents to Johannesburg from Middelburg about 16 years ago. And you can see like where before they could just walk out and go and visit their friends or their neighbors. It's a completely different environment, because now they don't have that. They don't have the people that they knew for 20 odd, 30 odd years. So now they're in a new city. You have to kind of create an environment for them. So you definitely have to think about it when you do relocate your parents, like you say, because it's a whole new world for them, and it's a different exposure for them. And it is challenging for them to adjust to a different world. So I think sometimes we as young people, we think, oh no, I'm going to do this for my mom. But you got to really think it through, because there's so many factors that's involved with taking care of your parents when it comes to all of that. Yeah. I'm passionate about the topic.
Listen, early on you mentioned Afro Z, and I want to talk about Coca-Cola pop stars and Afro Z. Let's go way back at the time. And early on you mentioned, actually it was kind of like a bittersweet moment also, because I mean, at home and in your personal life you are having your own challenges, but at the same time you have to shop for these interviews and you have to do these shows and all of that. So was that in your introduction to the industry for the very first time? Or did you do other things, other shows and gigs before it actually before you actually made it to Coca-Cola Pop Stars and Afro Z? Were you kind of like doing a thing before that, or was that like the break and be like, okay, I'm gonna run with this?
So the Coca-Cola Pop Stars, I guess, was my first exposure to television, but I had recorded with DJ, I don't know if you remember DJ Christos, back back in the day, DJ Christos. I recorded with him like in the basement of his club, and I was still in college then. So that was my first exposure to recording music. I got to sing on one of his albums, and that was really cool for me. And then after that, I started doing industrial theater. And actually, my first job in the industry was selling advertising space for pop stars. So we went from ad company to ad company, selling advertising space for this new reality show that was coming to South Africa. And there were 5 of us who had to pretend like we were this group and to kind of show what the show was going to be about. I had no intention of entering the competition because I was already a working actor at the time. But we were singing and performing and then selling advertising space. And then on the last day of auditions, my friend asked me to go to the auditions with her. And then the rest is history, really. I made it through to the top 10. Yeah, so that's how it started for me. Was I think Pop Stars was my first introduction to South African television, but not my first official job. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I would have thought that, because we saw you as the singer first, a lot of people saw the singer first and then we found out the acting afterwards. I would have thought that you started with the singing and then you branched onto acting. But it's actually interesting to hear it was the other way around. We're actually a working actor. You're like, I'm actually fine here, guys. But then you just decided to open the door and extend. I mean, but it's brought you to different platforms. I'm sure you've met some amazing people, and some amazing experiences that you wouldn't necessarily pick up any other way. So big ups to the music industry as well, just like that door that you took. But for the period that you said that you had to put on a smile professionally, but you're dealing with some difficulty. How was that process for you? How did that kind of like affect you mentally?
Sure. I think the band members from Afro can also attest to this. We recorded in Cape Town our album, right? I was the only one from Johannesburg. The rest of the team was from Cape Town. So I then, after college, had to move. After Pop Stars, I moved to Cape Town to then go and record this album. We stayed in Simonstown recording there. It was so beautiful with the penguins and everything. And it was very different for me because Cape Town is very different from Johannesburg. So that was really my first. I'd gone to Cape Town before, but it was my first introduction to Cape Town. But everybody always thought that I was from Cape Town. Yeah. But I was the one odd member in the group that wasn't. And thereafter, after the album was recorded, we then were advised by the record company, look, if you really want to work, which back in the day, this is how it was, move to Joburg. And so the 5 of us moved into my brother's 2-bedroom house to chase our dream. And we did everything together. I think what got us through the dark days is the fact that we were together. If we didn't have it together. We went to our interviews in my brother's Uno Turbo. And for those of you who know what a Uno Turbo is, it's a very small car, compact. So it's my brother and the 5 of us in the Uno Turbo going to all our wonderful interviews. But I think those moments, will have shaped our careers. We're all still working. We're all still in the entertainment industry because we really worked hard from the gate. We wanted this. We wanted it. We worked hard for it. We fought through the days that we were struggling, and we kept going. When we were frustrated, we would rehearse. We would have a dance rehearsal, or when we didn't know what was going on, we would come up with harmonies. And I think getting through those difficult times together is what really got us through it.
Yeah. And you've been in the industry for I don't know, please correct me if I'm wrong, 21 years, could be a lot longer than that. And I'm sure you've seen it all. You've seen the greatest stages and you've seen the most places as well. What are some of the most valuable lessons? And I'm sure there's so many lessons that you've learned, but what are some of the most key valuable lessons that you kind of carry with you today, that you kind of learned over your journey?
Sure. I think we're all here to serve in some way. Wherever you come to in life, you're here to serve a purpose, right? Whether you're serving as a singer or as an actor, as an accountant, you're here to serve a purpose in some way. And I think our greatest strength, in Romans 15 verse 1 says your strength lies in serving. And so that's something that I've kept with me over the past 10 or 15 years, is that really I'm strengthened when I serve. So no matter where I am, if I could be a vessel of service to someone, that's number one, is one of the biggest lessons. And it's something that we learned as kids, your mom telling you, hey, go serve the visitors with a tray, with tea and biscuits, you know, having that same heart and knowing that, not that you never arrive, but like there's always room to grow, if that makes sense. So for me, no matter where I go, I understand I'm not coming into the room with the understanding that I'm coming boastfully. I'm here to learn something and I'm here to gain something. And I know that I'm going to be better when I leave, but I never want to come in thinking that I know it all or that I'm that great, because there's always someone better than you in life. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons, is accepting that we're not here to compete. We all have a purpose, and how can I serve?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I love that you say that, because if you have that mindset of like I'm the best, no, ooh, you'll be humbled so fast. Someone younger, faster, more good looking, more funnier, more will come out there and do it effortlessly what you try to build in such a long time. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's someone that's gonna be better than you, and it's always good to open your mind to actually learn from those who are better from
Yes.
opposed to compete, because
Yes.
life is about improving and always getting better and leveling up. So it's silly
Yes.
to have and be like, I'm not gonna listen to anyone when there's clearly a lot out there that is better. Lois, can you tell me two of your most worst experiences, maybe gigs that you've ever done? Yes, one where it was your fault, where you kind of like, okay, this was on me. I shouldn't have done this or I shouldn't have done that or whatever. And one experience where it wasn't your fault. Well, I don't know, maybe the sound was terrible or it was just a bad gig or bad experience. But two of your worst, and then afterwards you give me two of your best where you actually performed at your best, or it was maybe a moment or in a moment where kind of like, I don't know, you probably shared the stage with someone that you really, really wanted to, or something like that. So two of the worst, one where where you caused your worst experience, and one where the external was the worst experience, and then two of the best, one where you caused the best experience, and one the external was the
Okay.
worst.
Phew. I think one of the worst experiences was forgetting my lyrics during a show. Um, yeah, I think that's the most difficult thing for a singer, is to forget your lyrics, or
Yep.
to what in the middle of your performance to make up the song that's very well known by the crowd and you're singing different lyrics. I think that's probably, especially when it's like a Whitney Houston song, that you should know, that you should remember. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the worst moments for me, because that I can't blame anybody else. It's just that the lyrics left my mind in the moment. Um, and then I think one of the worst experiences that other people cause is when you get into a place and the sound is not great. Especially when it's feeding back while you're singing. I can't think of a specific, but there've been quite a few where you get on stage and then the sound is like, it's like that loud ringing noise. I think that can really test your patience and your character as a performer, because you can either really lose it on stage, or you can hold your composure and just pretend like nothing else is happening in the room and you're just carrying on. I think that can be like very difficult. But I also fell on stage once, and yeah, that wasn't great at all. So I've had a few. I've had a few
Tell
bad
more.
ones.
More. Tell me more.
Well, we were on tour, and I think we were in Manila, and we were on stage, and yeah, I tripped, and I think I almost tripped Israel on stage. It was very bad. Like it was just, yeah, it was just disaster. It was my fault. I don't know what happened, but I tripped. That was one
Yeah.
of my worst. Yeah, it was just embarrassing. I was very embarrassed in the moment. It was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was probably one of my worst moments. Um, yeah, ever.
Crazy. I mean, I remember also forgetting jokes and like on stage, it's the worst feeling ever, because you just go blank and all of a sudden you notice people and the people notice you. And it's like you want to ask for help. And in that moment of panic, your mind is like, you can't even tell, you can't even remember your name. It's just like, help. I remember that. That's the worst ever. And bad sound is also the worst. I mean, honestly, it took me a long time to actually learn to say like, just even to, because I never had the courage to tell the audience, like, just give me a second and then like just speak, communicate with the sound guy and be like, can you turn it down a bit or can you turn it up a bit or, or something like that. I used to just like, okay, this is the sound and this is where I'm at, and go through this terrible experience. And like you say, can really test your patience. And you can end up going on feeling terrible. Not that you did put on a bad performance, but basically because the sound wasn't that great, it didn't give you the opportunity to express yourself the way you wish you would. So yeah, it's really a kick. But like, tell me your best, please. I want to know, what is your best? What's your best performance you've ever done, and what was the best experience you've ever been to?
Sure, best performance I've ever done. Whew. Okay, so I obviously I have been blessed to travel quite a bit and see some amazing things. I think one thing I'll never forget is a moment when we got to travel with Israel and Newbury to Nigeria to the experience. And it started raining and the people wouldn't leave and they just stood in the rain and there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people there and they literally just stood with their chairs on their heads and it was raining so badly that at one point a part of the stage, because it was a tent, like dropped in and we were all on stage like dripping wet, but all the artists were singing and it was a moment of going, man, like this is more than just us singing or us being here. These are people who really are here for God. It's not even about us. People are here to worship and they're here for the moment. And it made me realize like the desperation of our people as African people. We have a desperation in terms when it comes to worship that I never want to lose. And that moment just reminded, it was one of the greatest moments I was honored to be a part of, to just be standing there in the rain, singing and worshiping while we were singing, and to see people just continue singing. It was mind-blowing. I'll never forget it. It's imprinted in my heart forever. And I always want to make sure that I have that kind of desperation for whatever it is that I get to do in life.
That's so amazing. I mean, I can only imagine what that looked like, like everyone's still like, no, fighting it. And I mean, I'm surely seeing them fighting it also gave you the courage to keep going. And like, I mean, if they here and they stand for it, why are we worried about us getting wet, So
Yeah.
it's that is being reciprocated in the room. That's amazing. And what was your great experience like that you've ever been like, okay, that was probably, that was your greatest time. What was do you have like an iconic moment or anything, or somewhere you met someone or you shared the stage with someone that you really wanted to, something like that? Or do you still have those moments where you feel like, I want to share the stage with this person because I really look up to this person and means so much to me?
Sure. I think I've had so many moments where I feel like my life has been like a series of surreal moments where I just sometimes go, did that really happen to me? Like, I can't believe that has been my life. I can't believe I got to sing with this person. Number one, meeting Israel and Newbury and being a part of that, I think, is one of the most incredible moments of my life. I got to grow as a human being. I got to learn about singing, actual singing. I was taught so much about harmonizing, blending. I think it really shaped me as a performer and as a singer so much. And then through Israel, getting to meet so many other people. My icon, Darlene Check, we got to do a tour with her. I think that was probably one of the greatest highlights because I grew up singing Shout to the Lord. And then being on tour with her, I think is definitely one of the highest things on my list. And getting to meet her and work with her. Sure, there's so many. Like I said, there's been so many amazing. I think one time we got to meet Jonathan Butler. I got to meet him also through Israel, and that, I mean, he's our icon, you know, and getting to meet him over there, and then just being so excited to see him and to be in the same room as him, and then talking a little bit of Afrikaans and just being so bad because like you're in another country and here's our icons that's sitting here in the room. So that those are some moments that there's so many, but those are some moments that really, really stand out for me. Sure, there's so many good ones. Yeah.
And being in the industry for such a long time, I mean, you've seen so many things have changed and developed, and you've seen the industry change as well. And like you said, you've changed as well, obviously with the lessons and everything. What are some of the crucial lessons or things that up and coming artists, or either be acting or music, what are some of the things that you feel like they need to know before they walk into this industry or before they take their career seriously? Things that can actually ruin, you know, because there are some mistakes that people can make that can actually ruin the future of the music. I've had this interview, I've had this question with some artists where they've kind of like their name and the music belongs to a record label that they are no longer with, you know, and they just can't own those things, you know. So what are some of those crucial lessons that you've learned in your experience and in your journey that you would love to share with up and coming artists to look out for so that they can have a successful begin?
I would say number one, know who you are. Know who you are when you're coming into this industry, because if you don't know, an identity will be given to you, and you'll run with it and you'll be not yourself for a very long time. So knowing who you are is important. Loving who you are is very important, because our industry, like I said, is very harsh. And so you need to love yourself and love who you are and what you bring into the world. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is what I do is not who I am. Whether I'm singing or acting, that's not who I am. And knowing the difference, that when I get to go to work, that's a different person than who I am at home. And some things are meant to be sacred. Keeping that to yourself is important. Having privacy is important. I've learned the importance of keeping my mouth shut, because sometimes we talk too much. That's something that I've learned. You know, we talk too much sometimes, and we can get ourselves in trouble by talking too much. So I've learned the importance of not saying too much. And the older I get, the more quiet I become. Because, you know, I try to learn more. Sometimes, what else have I learned? I've learned, when it comes to music, I've learned to be an owner of your music. Make sure that you know your music industry. Let's talk technical stuff. Know what Samro is, know what Sampra is, know what Risa is. Do your research if you want to be a musician. Find out which digital platforms will work for you. Find out which percentages each platform takes, whether it's iTunes or CD Baby or DistroKid. Find out which one works for you. Find out which one is most user-friendly for you as an artist. And then also find out how to collect your royalties. Make sure that you're registering your songs online. Make sure that you're, when you're in a room with 3 other artists writing a song, understand that the splits go equally. If you're in a room writing with other people, the song belongs to all of you, you know. And if you're not having those conversations ahead of time, somebody may come back and go, but I was in the room. So it's important to know those things and to have those conversations before you go into a room with anybody. Yeah, I think those are lessons that you can learn and that you can take with you. As a performer and as an actor, I would say know your craft, study the arts. Theater shaped me and my techniques and I'm so grateful that 20 years ago I got to study theater, which I'm only applying now in my career, you know. So it definitely shaped my career. Knowing your craft is very important, no matter if you're a musician or a singer. Know your industry, study it. You can never go wrong by knowing too much information. I think that's the biggest thing. And ask questions. I don't think there's any wrong questions. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but like, I think we're sometimes afraid to ask questions and to say, hey, how does this work? Or get advice from people that have done it before us or have done it longer than us. Get a mentor, somebody that can walk with you on your journey. You don't have to do it by yourself. There's people that know more than you, and it's always important to ask for help. I have a lot of mentors that I call on, and I think that's really helped me along the way. I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially, I love the knowing yourself and all of that, and also knowing the industry, know how percentages works, know how collaborations work. Because you don't want to, at the end of the day, and realize when the product is done, and when the money has to be, produced, and then you want to ask the questions. So yeah, and also ask questions, a very, very good and valuable thing. Um, I don't, like I said, I'm also worried about your load shedding, so I don't want to keep it too long, but I have one last question to ask you before I let you go, Lois. And this is a question that I ask all of my guests. And I'm going to put you in my time machine now, and I'm going to dial it back to a time of a very younger version of yourself where you needed some guidance and advice. And it's the Lois of today, having walked the journey that you've walked, learned all the lessons that you've learned. And I'm giving you 5 minutes to speak to the younger version of yourself. What would that guidance be like?
Whew. Hey, Lois, you are beautiful. Don't believe the lies of society. You don't have to be a particular size or shape to fit into a room. You are beautiful just the way you are. You don't have to take all the diet pills in the world to fit in because, I did. And you're beautiful just the way you are. Enjoy life. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You don't have to fit into every crowd. You can just be yourself, and what is for you will never ever pass you by. You are born and created with a great purpose, and God has great things in store for you. Nothing that is for you will pass you by. So just keep on working hard at who you are. Keep on serving, keep on smiling, keep on shining, and don't be afraid to shine. Don't be afraid to shine because God has created you to be a light no matter where you are in life. You have been given a purpose to shine. Don't be afraid of that light. And also, just love. Dance if you want to dance in the rain. Laugh if you want to laugh uncontrollably. Have fun, like make a noise, have fun, have joy in your life. Like don't be afraid of trying new things. Don't be afraid of trying new food. Explore life and just love because you only have one life and you've got to live it every day.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I love that. That was such a beautiful message, honestly. Such a beautiful message. I think it's probably my favorite part of the show. Getting to hear the message that you would say to your younger self, because it's a time that you actually really needed all of those things. And I feel like it's a healing moment also, just to go through that right now and just go through it. So thank you so much. Lois, thank you for being a guest on the Price of Fame. I truly enjoyed everything about you. And wow, the message that you gave to your younger self, you are that light. It's true, what you're telling yourself, you are that light. You were shining since the beginning that you came on, right through to the end. And I'm sure when you're done with this, you're like, take away the earrings, just throw yourself on the bed. But thank you so much for being such an amazing person throughout this interview. And we've learned so much from you as well. Is there anything that you feel that I didn't give you the opportunity to share that you'd still have to maybe share before I close up the interview?
No, guys, make sure that you're following Lunga and make sure that you are tuning into the episodes coming up because this is a great podcast and a great platform for us as artists to tune into. Make sure you catch up on all the other episodes. There are amazing artists that you can catch up on, and I can't wait to see the rest. I don't think you missed out on anything. I just want to say thank you for having me and for just you also being a light and for using your platform to allow us to tell our stories. It's such a great thing, and I really appreciate you having me today.
Thank you so much, Lois. I really thank you for the assurances. I will keep doing this because a lot of people love it and we need it. Thank you, Lois. May you have a any further, I hope that load shedding does not come through for you so that you can at least, I don't know, make a cup of tea after this and make maybe something to eat or watch something and just wind down. But yeah, let me not take more of your lifetime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You've been amazing. I'm going to say good night to you now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's it from Lois, ladies and gents. And you heard it from the lady herself. Go and follow me. I know there's a lot of you that's watching, sitting in the background. You might be someone's mom. You might be someone's dad. You might be someone's brother or sister watching on someone else's device, not following, but you're enjoying. I see you. I see you. Like, share, subscribe. If you want to follow me, you can catch me on Facebook at Lunga Chuka, the Energizer Funny. That is Lunga Chuka, the Energizer Funny. On Instagram, you can catch me at Lunga Chuka. And if you're interested in some exclusive snippets of The Price of Fame, you can go to Instagram as well and you just search for The Price of Fame ZA. You'll catch all the snippets from season 1 up until season 2. The link in the bio will send you straight to my YouTube page where you can catch the full extended episodes of season 1 right through to season 2. And for those of you who prefer the audio version of these podcasts, you can go to Apple, Spotify, and Anchor FM. And Anchor FM has this cool feature where you can send us a voice note and you can also participate or partake part in our conversations and ask our guests a spontaneous question or just send me a shout out. I always love the shout out. That's it from me, ladies and gents. My name is Lunga Chuka. I've been your host. This is The Price of Fame.